Hello guys, I am so excited for this tutorial on how to do mosaic crochet from the center out. Now some people also like to call this in the round because of course you're going round and round, but to me in the round is when you're making like a tube and then you go round and round. So that's my distinguished words, but others might still call it in the round. It's the same thing. And if you're familiar with mosaic crochet already, you'll know that usually you are joining your yarn and cutting it every row, which gets you these little tassels, the fringe, and a lot of people really don't like them. You can put an envelope border to cover those. It's just 2 layers that now it's inside. Makes the project look nice and finished, but it's an extra step. Sometimes, especially on small squares, if you have a lot of borders to make, then it's more annoying. A big blanket, you make one border, it doesn't feel as annoying. So squares from the center out is the way to go. And I have been designing for 2 years and I'm finally getting around to this. It's been on my list for a while. You will notice the back. We had those, it just goes stripes. This is how you can tell we've done round and round and round. And my tutorial, oh, I forgot to weave those in. Who weaves in the ends? Pfft, not me. So this tutorial is a free PDF you can download on Ravelry, and then you can crochet with me. And this is called Center Out Tutorial Square. I know it's a very boring title. And it also includes a file for the interlocking crochet center out. So this video here is just for the mosaic one. But my patterns always come with both, so including my tutorial squares, it comes with both. So we are going to jump into it. I'm going to set these aside. We're going to start with a quick overview of the chart before we get into the stitches. If you're familiar with reading mosaic charts with X's, you'll find this one not too complicated. Basically, get out of my way, silly square. Basically, an X on a square means you do a drop double crochet. If there's no X, you do a single crochet. It doesn't matter what color any of these squares are. All that matters is what color you're using. So this tells you foundation row you'll be using. For me, blue matches my dark one. The light colors 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. That's my gold. So this is black and gold rows or rounds. That's the same. Then you just follow along. And you do single crochet, single crochet, single crochet. Unless you see an X, then it's a double crochet. Because our charts, if you read the key, when it's a center out piece, from me anyways, the chart is only showing you the top portion. It's showing you one side. And you're going to repeat that for every side until you finished your square. These stitches on the edge, those are your corners. And it's actually showing you both sides of the corner. And if you wanted to get technical, you would really only need this side. So we start with a corner stitch and we go across, and then the next corner is actually starting our next side, right? So this is actually duplicated. It is mentioned in the key if you read it, but I want to point that out. You don't cut your yarn. All the yarn gets carried up. So unlike regular mosaic crochet, right, you're cutting your yarn. Now you're not. So these corners are really the most complicated part. If you're used to a mosaic pattern, you can see the X's make sense. The corner stitches also could have an X. That's this one here. That's the dropped double crochet corner. It has a little X on it. Okay, we have 2 colors of yarn. Our main color, our accent color, contrasting color, secondary color, whatever you want to call it. In my mosaic crochet patterns, I use CC for contrasting color, and this is MC for main color. Usually the MC is the darker one. It doesn't always have to be that way, but that's what I'm going to do here for this one. Oh, I also have a 5mm hook with my worsted weight yarn. That detail is only important if you want to match my gauge, which for learning, gauge isn't huge. You do want to make sure that you're using a big enough hook that you can get into your stitches, especially when you're learning something. You don't want to be fighting the stitches. So try to make sure that you're not picking something too small. And And we're going to be starting with row 0, foundation row 0, which means we'll be starting with this black, and then row 1 will be the gold. So that means that whenever you're looking, any odd number row, 1, 3, 5, they're this one. Even colors 0, 2, 4, we're going to be main color. And we are going to start by making the tiny little inner dot. And we're going to start with a magic ring. We're going to jump right into it here. I know some people are scared of the magic ring. I was scared of it for a long time, and this is the best way that I have learned how to do it. I put the yarn here. I wrap it around 2 or 3 fingers. I always leave at least one open. And I make the X right on the top of my finger there, and then I grab it down here. Hook under, grab it here, give it a little twist, and then you need to still finish that off, and then that's your loop. The two strings, that's what you're going to be crocheting over, so make sure it's twisted the right direction. And this is adjustable, so that's why we like it. This doesn't count as a stitch for me, and I need 8 single crochets in my magic ring. So I'm going to go in here, grab it. I'm using US terminology, so that's what a single crochet looks like. If you want to put a stitch marker here, you can. 8 is not too hard to count for me, so I'm going to keep going. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now you can tighten it a little, but don't go too crazy yet. Sometimes if you tighten it too much before you've got that stitch, it's hard to grab that stitch. We want to actually do an invisible join. So we're going to throw all sorts of new things at you. We're going to let go. You can pull this tail. You want it to be close. We have a little circle here. And you can count your stitches if you're not sure which one to use. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So those are the loops that we want to use. But the invisible join comes from behind. So we got to make sure you pick up both loops. Here we go. And this loop here, we're going to put it on the hook. Give it a little tug if you need to. I don't like to have too much slack. It makes it hard to go in. And you just pull it through. And now that it's through, I will tighten my magic ring really tight. Now you have no hole in the middle. This is joined very nicely. That is your foundation setup. This one here will loosen over time. You can't leave your project like this. So you need to either weave it in or knot it or something. But for now, because there's not really anywhere for it to go, we're going to leave it hanging, and you can just keep tightening it if it bothers you, but that's what we're going to wait with. In order to do our color change to get to row 1, we simply grab our color. This is not a good way to change color if you're doing like a single crochet grafgan, because it's a different technique, okay? So we're going to put the loop on. We're going to pull this down. Make sure you got too many tails in here now. Pull it relatively tight. And this one, make sure it's not too large either, like a normal working loop. This is probably the hardest part of everything. And because we want the back to look pretty, it's not going to have the design like the front, but we still want it to be pretty. I'm going to carry the gray. I'm going to bring it to the front. I'm going to do just a chain stitch that kind of locks it all in here. So making sure that the yellow tail is pulled tight, the magic ring is pulled tight, this one a little bit tight, everything's pretty tight. That is the color change. We're done. Now you can knot these together or weave them in at the end, whatever you like. I'm just leaving them hanging for now. And we're going to start with row 1. And if you're reading it, it starts with stars or asterisks. That tells you we're repeating it. We're going to repeat it all the sides to make a square. And it starts with a single crochet corner. Just says SC, big C. And in order to do the corners, we're still going to be doing the back loop only here. If you're familiar with Mosaic crochet, you know that all the single crochets are back loops and all the double crochets are dropped. So back loop, single crochet means we're grabbing the back loop, but we want to keep this one as our final prettiness. We're going to still bring it to the front. And we're going to do our single crochet, and we're going to put him back to the back. So that means he's ready when it's time to pick him up for the next round. And in order to do our corner, we're going to do a chain 1, and we'll put that single crochet right in the same, but we don't have to worry about this yarn this time, okay? And that's the corner. And then we're just doing 1 single crochet in the back loop, of course. The written instructions are shortened because it makes it easier to read, but you have to read the key, or you have to know that you're doing mosaic crochet so that you know all single crochets going in the back loop. And now that asterisk says start at the beginning again, which is a corner. So we're gonna do it in the back loop, bring it up, single crochet once, put a chain, and then single crochet in the same spot. That gets us our corner. And then we're going to do 1 single crochet, and we have to do back to the asterisk, starting over, doing our corner. So 1 single crochet, 1 chain, and a single crochet in the same spot gets us our corner. 1 single crochet, then we're back to corners again, single crochet, chain, single crochet, and here's our final single crochet. That's the end of it. It says asterisk. Now in order to do this join, we are again going to do that invisible join. We're taking our hook out, and here's where it gets complicated, especially if you're new to crochet and you're not familiar with the anatomy of your stitch. So I can tell that this is where we had 1 stitch in here, and this is the corner. So these 2 loops here are for this stitch, that's the top of it, and this is our chain space. And then those 2 loops here, and this is the top of that one, that is the first one. So that's what we want to go under. We're picking up 2 loops. Make sure that this yarn stays in the back of your work. Put your loop on. You can tighten it a bit if you need to, because sometimes I find it hard to get it through the loop if it's too loose. We're going to pull these stitches up and over it. And now it's joined. Now it's hard to tell here, but it is a nice, neat join. And we have pretty good corners. It's making a square. And now that it's joined, we need to pick up our other color again. So you need to make sure that you're not picking up the tail that was your magic ring. If it's too long, you can shorten it, cut it off, or whatever. And this is where you joined the yellow, so that's those ones, they won't be used again, okay? Okay, so you want to switch colors here. You did the invisible join. Now you're ready to switch colors. This is the one that's attached to your yarn ball. I want to loosen it up a bit. And this is the yarn that you were just using. So we're going to do a slip stitch here. And then we're going to tighten it because we want to make sure everything's pretty tight on the back. And we want to carry it over to our next stitch. So that slip stitch there, that's just to keep everything changed. Chain 1 locks it all in place. And if you're reading the pattern, the first thing we're going to do is a single crochet corner. And you can see here, this was your 2 chains, and this is the corner one. And you're still using the back loop only of that corner. And we're going to stick the yarn in there, or sorry, the hook, and then we're going to carry this yarn. So do our single crochet, then we're done with the yarn, chain 1, and to make the corner, we're going in that same stitch. So the back, it's still a little messy because of these tails, but it is going to be relatively neat once we get to the end. And we are using our dark color, our main color, the first color that we started with the foundation. So we are on row 2. We did our first corner, and then it says single crochet 1, double crochet 1, single crochet 1. And of course we know that the single crochets are always the back loop, and the double crochets are dropped. And when you drop it, you're not going to use this stitch. So when you do your next one, you're going to skip that one. So this stitch gets ignored, and we're going to go down here to this loop, and it's a little hard because of my color. I'm hoping that this lighting is allowing you to see. We're not using this back loop. We're not using its front loop. We're dropping down to the charcoal, the front loop only. That's a double crochet. So make sure you yarn over first. Get your double crochet. If you want to, you can lock the stitches in, or you can leave them floating. But make sure when you do your next single crochet that you're not doubling up stitches here, because this stitch is used with the double crochet. So that means this is our next single crochet in the back loop. And then we have that asterisk that tells us to start at the beginning of the row again. And our corners always start in that chain space. It's a back loop only, single crochet, chain one, single crochet, and then our row has single, double, single. So we have one single crochet. We're going to drop it down, pick up that loop from our center foundation, and then the next single crochet, making sure that you're skipping that one so that you can use not adding stitches. And then we're back to a corner again. Now the beginning, of course, it goes so quick because you only have 2 stitches every round, but it will take us longer to do the next rounds once we get farther. So again, we're going to go single crochet 1, dropping it down. You have to find the loop that's on the front. Make sure you're skipping that one because it's already been used for the double. And we're back to the corner. So we go single, chain, single, that's our corner. We have a single crochet 1, drop down for the double crochet. Make sure you're skipping it. Now this one, because we pulled everything tight to keep everything neat, it sometimes gets confusing on your very last stitch. So you make sure that you're skipping that stitch. This stitch, it looks like it's kind of sideways. That's the one you want to use. Okay? And it's the back loop only still for that single crochet. And that is, now it's time to change colors. So we make sure that this tail is in the back. And you have to make sure that you're paying attention to this was our single crochet, corner, single crochet. So that's the stitch we're going under. Make sure you're going under both loops. And then this one just gets pulled right through there. Right? And that's the one. Now it's a pretty tiny little square so far, and he's really cute, but we're going to keep going and make him even cuter. I tighten it up a bit in order to change my colors. I'm gonna just do that chain, that slip stitch, and then tighten it pretty good because you don't want to have too many flappy loops back here. So giving it a pretty good tighten and bring it to the front because we want to carry it along. So this is relatively tight, tighter than I normally would do a chain. And then we can get him out of the way and we're ready to do our corner. And we have to find that chain space. So make sure you're paying attention. Single crochet, chain, and that was the single crochet you just used. So the corner goes in the chain space, the back loop only of that chain stitch. Making sure everything's relatively tight. And we want to still carry this one more time, that gray one. Bring it up, finish your single crochet, and now we're finally done with the gray. We can chain one for the corner, going into that same spot, but we don't need to bother with that gray that we were carrying. And we've done our first corner. Those corners are so scary, but it's not so bad once you get used to them. At the beginning, it feels very scary. And we're using our accent color, which means it's odd. We're on row 3, in case you've forgotten. We did our single crochet corner. The next stitch says single crochet 1, double crochet 1, single crochet 1, double crochet 1. It's in the brackets because it's repeated like that. And it's easy to memorize 5 stitches. So I'm just going to single crochet 1. Now double crochet, it drops down. You have to pick up that loop. And then the single crochet, because you're skipping that one now, the single crochet is part of this post. So that's the back loop. And then we're making this one drop down to be beside. And our final single crochet, make sure that you're skipping that loop. You're picking up this one. That's one side. Now we gotta loosen my gold yarn. It's pulling on me too tight. I don't like that when it pulls. So normal corner again. This was our chain stitch. We're grabbing the back loop only. Single crochet 1, chain, single crochet, and then we're gonna go single crochet, double crochet. So we got to drop it down, find that loop, make sure you're skipping it at the back so we're not adding stitches. This post is the one that gets the single crochet. Then we drop it down, double crochet, and single crochet. So if you need to look behind here, make sure that you're not adding stitches, right? And our tail, it has loosened up a bit. You can tighten it if you want. I find I just ignore it till the very end. So this loop has already been used. This is the loop we are skipping for the dropped double. And then this is the loop that we are using for our single crochet. That's the second one. Back to our chains, back loop only in that chain. And I guess my words aren't entirely clear sometimes. So that's a single crochet and a chain and a single crochet, all in the back loop only of the chain space of the previous round. And we're going to go single crochet, back loop only, of course, dropped down, pick up that loop, single crochet on the top, drop down, double crochet, single crochet here. We're on our final one, single, chain, single. Then we have a single, double. My thumb gets in the way because it's more comfortable for me to hold it, but I want you to see where my stitch is going. So single, and then the double one comes down. And that last single, I know, remember last round, sometimes it's hard to find it. So this is the stitch we're skipping. And then these 2 loops, that was your final stitch from before. So you want to find the back loop only. It gets smushed to the front because of all those color changes at the back. But once you keep going, it doesn't look so bad. It's just when you're trying to find it that you're like, where did that one go? You're going to put this out to do our invisible join again. Now if you need to count, this was the corner, so it had a single crochet, a chain, and then that's your single crochet. So that's the one you're going to go in behind. This loop, you can shorten it if you want. It's a bit loopy for me. Put it on there, pull it through. Look at that, it's like a little biscuit. I want to eat it. Now, of course, those color changes because we want them to be neat and tidy. We're playing this one a little bit tighter. Grab our gray, pull it through, make sure the gold one's tight still. And then we're gonna carry the gold, do a relatively tight chain, and now we're on row 4, and it says double crochet corner. So here's the problem with this carrying one. He doesn't get carried this time, and it's going to be all right. We're going to yarn over, and now instead of doing a single crochet corner here, we're going to drop it down. And this loop, I mean, he is going to bear the weight of the world. So this is the loop that you have to find right in the corner. It's the front loop of the chain that you had been using. So when we did our single crochet corner, it went in the back loop. single crochet, chain, single crochet. This is the front loop that didn't get used. We're going to use it now a lot. So double crochet into that front loop only, and we're just going to do one double crochet and a chain, and then another double crochet in the same spot. And that's how we get our corner. This little loop, he didn't get carried quite as much this time, and that's just how it's going to have to be. And our next stitch, because everything's kind of getting squished in here, if you were able to count your stitches, this chain space is the one that we're skipping to drop down and do the double crochets, which means our next stitch is actually here, and we need a double crochet again. And if you drop down to find the loop, it's the loop that you've just used. And that surprised me at first when I was trying to figure out how to do these corners. So this guy in the corner, he gets another stitch in him. That first stitch, because it's a dropped, goes in him again. And then it says double crochet 2, which means 2 double crochet stitches, not 2 in the same spot, which means our next one is this guy, and when you drop it, he finally gets his own loop. And that poor little corner, he's like, oh, I'm so full, thanks for using the next stitch. So then we have 3 single crochets, so that's this post, 1, 2, 3, and then we have 2 double crochets, and you'll see that this one, when you drop down, he has the loop right next to the gold post, and this one, his loop is actually that chain corner. So that's the end of the first side of your square. And now when you turn it and you start with your corner, a double crochet corner, guess where it goes? In that same corner loop, right? So he is really a very full little corner loop, but he'll be okay. So we've got 1 double crochet and a chain and another double crochet. That's our corner. And you remember from before that the first stitch, so you've skipped a whole bunch back here, right? It gets a little bit flappy. So this was the corner one here, where he had a single crochet and a chain and a single crochet. So you've skipped the chain space because you did drop down for your corner. And then you've skipped this one and dropped down for the double crochet. So this is your next stitch, and when you drop down, he does have his own loop. So, oh, I can see we did the double crochet corner. Then that first one has to go here because he's that same chain space. Double crochet 1 and double crochet 2. He gets his own loop. So you see it again in just a few stitches. If you're still confused, we're gonna do single crochet 1, 2, 3. So you can see our corner, he's getting pretty thick. And if you look here, there is that chain space, the front loop of the chain, then the front loop here and the front loop here. So these ones, they get 1 stitch each, and this one he gets the corner, which is 2 double crochets, and he gets this stitch and this stitch. So it's a lot for that little corner, but he can handle it, I promise. So we're doing double crochet 1 and double crochet 2 into the next stitch. And then when we turn it to do our corner, we're using that same spot again. So a double crochet corner goes in that space, chain 1, and then a double crochet again. And then our first stitch of the side is in that space again. Double crochet 1, and then the second double crochet in the next stitch here. That's how he gets it. So you do get a little flap on the back. You can lock them in if you prefer. I find that locking the stitches in kind of twists the work a bit, and it's an extra step that I don't really like, but I'm going to show you on this corner how it looks. So here's our single crochet, 1, 2, 3. Our double crochet, it says double crochet 2, right? So we have to do 1 stitch here, and if you're going to lock it in, you can just pick up that back here, and then this is the second one, so that's that chain space. And when you do the second part of it, you need to find the loop at the back. That's how you know that's where it belongs. And then our corner, it's still using that dropped, the front loop of that corner space. But if you want to lock it in, you're going to find the back loop of that corner that you had been skipping. And that's where you're going to lock it. Make a chain space. And then your drop double crochet still in that same spot. And the corner gets locked in the same spot as well. And then our first stitch is easier to tell now that this is our next stitch. So when you drop it down, it's using that same loop at the front, but the locked in space is the next stitch. And this one here, the loop is just there. And then we have 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. Now from the front, it doesn't look too different. From the back, you can see that when you lock it in, you don't get the flap. Here it is. However, I find this feels more fluid. The drape is better, and this feels more stiff. And it also tends to make that gap tighter, in my opinion. So that's why I don't actually prefer it, but it is an option. We finished our 3 single crochets, and then we still need to do 2 more double crochets to end the round. This one, it's easy to find the loop because it's hanging out there by itself. And the next stitch, you have to remember that this one here, you can see the loops, that is still a stitch. And if you dropped it down, the loop is actually being pulled all sorts of ways because it was used, but it is the loop we want to use again. And that is the end of the round. Of course, we're going to undo our hook so that we can do that fancy invisible join, putting it through those loops. Tighten it if you need to, otherwise maybe you're clever enough to pull it through without tightening. I don't know, I like to tighten it. And we're going to make sure it's pretty tight at the back. Grab our other yarn. We're going to make sure we grab the yarn, definitely tighten it a whole bunch, and bring it to the front because we want to carry it. So we chain 1, and our next row, we're on row 5, or round, I suppose it's called a round, right? It's hard to tell with the design. The inner dot counts as 0, and then gold would have been 1, so every gold is an odd number, and you can't see this corner now because it's hidden, but that was 3, so this one's 5. We just have another regular single crochet corner, and it wasn't that long ago that we did them, but I'm going to walk you through it again. Find your corner, that's this stitch here, then the chain, and this stitch, that was your corner. So we are grabbing the back loop only of the chain stitch, and we're going to carry that black one. Oh, my gold is looking a bit puffy here, let me just tighten that up. Okay, we're going to grab the chain again, sorry, and we're going to carry the black one over and do our single crochet. Chain 1, you don't need to worry about the black one anymore. We're going to do the single crochet again in the same spot. So the first single crochet covers it, the second one doesn't. And that allows us to carry it. It does get, you can see it a little bit depending on, if I pulled it tighter, I think it would hide it better, but it keeps it mostly looking the same as the others. That's how. It's not exactly like an amigurumi technique, but that's sort of where I was going with that, trying to keep them covered. Anyway, row 5 says after you do your corner, 3 single crochets, 3 double crochets, and 3 singles. So it's pretty easy to remember. Again, you can't do doubles here because of those. You can do them there, so it's just paying attention to where your corners are. Nice and easy. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so then we are at our corner, and we're going to use that back loop of the chain space, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. And of course, we're going to be doing this row. I find it easy to remember when I'm forced into the stitches. It's just 3, 3, and 3. And I really am liking this yarn. It's a merino wool twill. I forget, Knit Picks or something like that. I just really like it. I should order some more. But I have so much yarn already. I just did a yarn unboxing video, and it was kind of fun, but this is where I should have been spending my time. So we're at the corner already. We're gonna get that chain 1 in there, and 3 again, single crochet, 1, 2, 3, and then we drop it. For the double crochet, 1, double crochet, 2, double crochet, 3, and I don't like it when I have it in this little cake, and then it gets kind of tight sometimes, so that's why I just pull it so it's loose. So we go 3, 2, 1, and then we're back at our corner. If your chain stitch gets too tight, it's hard to get in there, so you have to make sure you're paying attention. Everything, of course, is your own project. You're gonna have to put your own flavor on things and your own spin, and watch other teachers and see what you like best, because there's no right or wrong way. There's just different versions of everything. So the end is really where the most complicated, I find, for me anyways, is that I tend to forget what stitch I'm doing. So we've got 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and then I had a really hard time to figure out that third one. And if you pull this back and out of the way, it's easier. You can try to follow the loop. The front loop goes just right here. If you grab the wrong loop, this one here, maybe you can see it when it tightens. For a while I kept trying to grab that loop, and that's the wrong one. So yeah, something you'll have to just be familiar with so that you can get the right loop every time. That's the one. And of course then undo it for our invisible join. Go right under there, put that one on, pull it through. Oops, oh, I did a mistake here. Make sure that yarn is in the back, because the whole point of this is to hide your yarns for your changes. You want to make sure it's at the back, the tail part, and then pull through. Pick up your gray. Make sure the gold one is nice and tight. The gray one doesn't want to be too loose. We're going to carry that gold one. We're going to do a pretty tight chain. And the next row, 6, and just move my cursor. I always just read my patterns on the screen. Some people print. I really just don't want to waste the paper and ink, I suppose. 6 is a normal single crochet corner again. Just spoiler alert, they're all normal single crochet corners except for this double one that we've already done. So now we're going to find that chain space again. I always find it's easier to find my my single crochet, and then I know the next one was the chain, and this was the first one. So we're going to go in here, we're going to carry the gold one, and then we're going to chain and go in again, but not go over the gold one. So our pattern this time, for the per side, it says single crochet 1, then double crochet 3. 1, and this one we are just dropping it down to be here. So we are doing 3 double crochets. They just go one after another, and now we can't do any more doubles because these stitches are in the way, and it tells us to do 3 singles, which makes sense. So we can say, yep, we are on the right track. Let's keep going. And you will also notice that this is actually mirrored. So we did 3 on this side, and we'll be doing 3 on the other side. Not all patterns will be like that, but this one is. So we'll do 1, 2, 3. And then we have another single crochet here before we get to the corner. So this one's our corner. So this is our stitch here. That's how sometimes you can do it. You could also count. We skipped 1, 2, 3, which makes this one our next. And then our corner, we're going to go single, chain, single, and we're back to the next side. So we have 1 single crochet and then 3 doubles. And when I was doing this tutorial, I started and I ran out of space. It cut me off because I didn't have enough space. Just so annoying. I back up all my photos a million different places, but I still don't like to delete them. So I hope it's okay that I haven't said all those stitches out loud. It's the same as the last side, and it's the same as the next side. But I do try to keep my babble to a minimum, but I'm not very good at it. I don't know if you noticed. I like to babble. So here's my chain right in the corner, which means my final single crochet has to be here. Then we're on the corner. Single, chain, single, single, dropped. 1, 2, 3. My yarn's being stuck again. Then we go 1, 2, 3 singles and 3 doubles again. 1, 2, 3. We got that final single crochet, making sure of course that you've skipped 3 in the back because you don't want to be adding stitches. Then our corner is single, chain, single. We do another single and 3 drop down crochets. If I can get the loop, there we go. 1, finish it off. 2 and 3. Single crochet, 1, 2, 3. Double crochet, 1, 2, 3. Come on. And this would probably be the trickiest corner. Make sure you've got 1, 2, 3. So the next little loops, they're right here. We're going to grab the back loop only. And I did pull that one a bit tight because I was trying to make sure that the back is tight. You want the stitch not to be so tight because you want to be able to get into it. And that's the end of the row. I'm going to let go here, making sure that's at the back because I want to cover it. Grab my loops, both of them, put this one on, pull it through. There we go. Now, I don't really need it to be quite so large. We're going to pick up the gold, tighten this one tight, tight, tight. The gold one needs to be not so crazy loose. Cover it over. Be a little bit tight for the chain. And row 7 is of course our regular single crochet corner again, because I told you all of them are going to be like that from now on. So we'll find our chain. It's this one here. we're going to single crochet 1 over the black, chain, and then single crochet again in the same spot, but not worrying about the black. And our, oh, get out of the way. There we go. It says 1 single crochet, then 1 double crochet. And really it's kind of the only stitch you can grab down there. I guess there is the corner one, but it shouldn't be too hard to find your little loop. Then we have 3 singles, 3 doubles, and 3 singles again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, oops, keep going. 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, all of them, right? It's like a waltz. Then we also still have a dropped and a single, so make sure you're not getting too many loops confused there. That gets us to the end. We're going to do our corner again. Grab it, single, chain, single, and then back to this side it says 1 single crochet, 1 double crochet. Then we've got 3, 2, 1. Drop down for 3, 2, 1, and my yarn's getting a bit tangly. Single crochet, 3, 2, 1, and do our drop downs. 1 here, single crochet, and we're at the next side again. It goes quick when they're so small. So corner, of course, goes single, chain, single, then 1 more single before we do our double, then we're back to 3 singles, 3 doubles, and 3 singles. I find this yarn has a lot of twist in it. It's called twill, which almost reminds me of twirl, and that makes me think of twisting. But it does have a lot of springiness in it, and it twists easily. So we got double crochet 1 there, single crochet here before we're at the corner, single, chain, single, and then single, double. Now it's very repetitive. I'm sorry, I hope it's not too boring. We've done the same row a few times essentially, and it is sort of, if you look with a blur in your eyes, it's making a little hearts in the corners. See? They're not super curvy hearts, but they're hearts in my mind nonetheless. And that corner always makes me wonder where my stitches go, so I have to always pay attention to the pattern. We're going to do 1 drop. Oh, this one's a bit tight for me to find again. Come on. Oh, I don't like fighting my stitches, but that one was a bit tight. Drop, double crochet. Make sure you are paying attention to the stitches here. If you move this gold out of the way, I find it easier to get to this back loop. Single, and then of course our join. There it is. So we're gonna tighten it a bit because it's crazy. Pull the black one in, tighten that gold one. See, there's a lot of tightening. Bring it in the front, make a pretty tight chain. Then we're going to find our chain space. It's this one here. Keeping that gold one carried. Single crochet chain. Then don't worry about the tail again and do your final single crochet for the corner. We did our corner. Then we have one single crochet, one double crochet. It's going right beside this gold post. And then single crochet 11. Now you can count them all, or you can know that we're going to put it on the other side of the gold post again. Gold post. That's kind of fun. Anyway, so I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So this is the one that we're dropping down to pick up. And don't forget, we're also doing one more single crochet before we get to our corner. And the corner is a normal single crochet, chain, single crochet, all in the same spot. And we have one single crochet, one drop down there. Oh, I think I split my yarn. Just a second. Try again. There we go. And 11 single crochets. They're easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then we're going to drop it down again and do one single crochet. Of course, you make sure you're skipping that one at the back. We're going to do the corners. Single, chain, single. Then we got one single, one double, and 11. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't really have to count. I pretty much always count. Could be my own crazy brain. I think the counting and the repetitive stitches is one of the things that I really like about crochet. And if it gets too long, like if I had to count to 40, I would just lose my place. But 11 I can do. So I usually probably would count if I wasn't talking to you. So we did our double, our single, and now we're at our corner. Single, chain, single. Then we're going to go single, double, and back to our 11. And maybe you don't like it that I talk and you mute me, or maybe you think I go too fast and you slow me down, or maybe you think I go so slow and now you're making me go so fast. Did you know you can play on YouTube with like the playback controls? It's fun. You can change how fast things are moving for you. So here's the 11th one. I know because it's right on top of that post. Post is probably not the right word, but this double crochet. And of course we still have a double crochet here to do. And a single crochet. Make sure you get the right one. This is the one we're skipping. This loop back here is the one that we're keeping tight. So that's the skipped one. This is the one that's kind of hanging out in front. Anyway, we just want the back loop of it still. That's our final single crochet. We're going to do our invisible join. Tighten it up just a little. That's too big of a loop. Pull this one through, tighten the black one, tighten the gold one. Oh, make sure we're carrying the black one. So tighten everything, tight chain, find my chain space, just grab the back loop and go over the black one, chain. Now I don't need to worry about the black one, I'm going in the same spot. There we go. And it says do 1 single crochet and 1 double crochet. And then it says 13, so that's the post to the post again. Now, the fun thing about working in the round is that you could end it at any point. And if you really like the way the gold looks on the outside, you can stop at the end of this round and you will have a nice pretty square. And if you want to do the final round of black or charcoal or whatever we're calling this, so you know, if I was counting I would have noticed that. So you could stop here with the black. It's nice, it's a square. Now we're putting the gold around. It's going to drop and make those corners point. You could stop there. Technically in the pattern, I have done 1 final with the black again, just because I think black looks nice as a border. And then if they're all black on the outside, I can join them together. Even if like the inside gold is changed, then it's just how my brain thinks it looks better. But if your brain doesn't agree, you can do whatever you want, okay? I don't like giving permission for that. You have permission for that regardless of whether I say so, right? Okay? So we did our dropped, now we did our single, now we're in the corner. Single, chain, single. We're doing a single, we're doing a drop. And we're going to count them or we're going to babble. Or I could just try quiet, but I'm not good at it. I live in my head all the time with all sorts of quiet and voices. No, I don't hear voices. I don't know what I'm trying to say. There's children talk to me or I talk to me. And when it's quiet like this and there are no children, I prefer to pretend I'm talking to you. That's really what I'm trying to say with the voices thing. So the kids are sleeping, which means I should be sleeping. And you can tell because I'm talky. So we just know that on the other side of that post is our dropped. Make sure this is the one that was used, so that's the one that's skipped. This is the single crochet. Then we're at our corner, the chain space corner, but we're using the back loop only because the next round might need the front loop. It doesn't, but that's why you would use it. In this pattern, it doesn't. On the next round is what I mean. And we'll go 11. Nope, I think 13. Yes, sorry, I wasn't really counting. So last round was 11. This one is 13. You're always getting each row, or each round, I mean, increases by 2 stitches per side, which means you're increasing by 8 stitches, 8 every round. So that is why the first few rounds are very quick. And if you got to keep going and going and going, your last few rounds would take a long time. So we're going to drop it. We're going to do our single, and then we're at our corner. Single, chain, single. One more single in the next one, then our dropped. And single across again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Our dropped one. And our final single, of course, we have to kind of move things around to find that loop. And I tighten things because I want the back to look nice, which means my corner that has all the color changes is always the hardest corner. But it is going to be pretty, so just do it, you know? Pull it down. I'm going to change colors, pull everything tight, carry it, pull it a bit tighter, chain one, find that chain space for the back loop, chain, then don't worry about the gold. And here we are. This is the final round according to the pattern. Like I said, you can stop whenever you like, but this is just going to be a single crochet all the way around, except for your corners. You're going to put your corner stitches in, but there are no dropped double crochets in this round. So you can count if you want to make sure you're not losing or adding stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. That gets us to our chain in the corner. 1, chain 1, and then we're going to do it again. 1, 2, 3 children is how many I have. It goes right above that post. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 is my birthday. Goes right on the post. 18 and 19 before we do our corner. Single, chain, single. And the third side. Woohoo! You know what to do. Keep going. You can do it. Now you will notice my square is a little bit wibbly wobbly. That'll block out. This is merino wool, so it'll block nicely. If your square is extremely crazy, it's possible that your tension is off. So I am using a relatively thick worsted weight. I mean, that medium category, they say 4-medium worsted weight, and yet the yarn that fits in that category is all over the board. So sometimes your yarn is thinner or thicker, and you need to change your hook to match it. And sometimes people tend to pull more than others. They pull tight or yanking, right? So that is how we get our tension to change. Once you find what your tension likes to be, you might notice that when you are feeling emotional, it changes. Or if you are watching a TV show and it's scary or exciting, your tension might change. There is all sorts of crazy ways that your tension can be off. And it's not something I usually worry too much about because I just sort of fix it in the end. Or, you know, most of the blankets that I use, I make them to be used. Some people make like works of art, which you could still say that mine are pretty, but I have little kids and everything I make has to be destructible. Indestructible really, but has to be tough. So this is, you know, I could block it and make it pretty, but then my kids are just going to be bouncing all over if I make a whole blanket anyway. So I don't usually go the extra step of blocking, but this would block out nicely. You could pin it, you could steam it, that sort of thing. Now this, because I find it hard to find these. This is where I might count. However, I remember that we had this post and then 2 more stitches. So I'm going to make sure that I get the right count in here. 1 here, and that funny one that likes to hide. Here we go. And that's the end. We're still going to do our invisible join because we're not quite finished. The gold one, you could have cut it off last round if you wanted. This is the end of that. I like to do 1 more pull and really tighten it up when we cut our yarn, which we haven't been cutting every round, which for Mosaic crochet is weird. But now that we're done the square, we do actually need to cut the yarn. It's up to you how much you like. I kind of do about that much. Very technical. And you pull through. Make sure it's nice and tight. We're going to get a needle and we're going to weave all these ends through. So now we take our little needle. We need to thread these in there. My needle is just on the verge of being too small really for this yarn. There are fancy things that you can get to help. Once it gets frayed, it's really hard to get in there, so that's why I cut the tip off. We did it. Okay. And you're going to want to make sure, 1, that it's pulled tight. You don't want to start weaving it in and realize that you didn't pull it tight enough. It doesn't matter which one you start with. And you want to make sure that you're not only going through the stitches, but through the fibers of the yarn that's there. And of course, you want the gold to be mostly going through gold because then it'll be hidden better. Go one direction, go another direction. When you go through, you want it to be hidden tight, but not so tight that you're puckering your fabric, right? And that'll be enough, 3. There it is. It's cute, right? We did it! It's like the colors really make it look old-timey to me, like a gold foil or something, but I hope you like it. I hope you can try it out with me. Show it to us in the Facebook group or tag me on Instagram or Ravelry or something. And yeah, thanks for watching.